to people approaching us about that. And so with all of that, with all of doing all that last year, and then kind of coming into this year, a lot of the things that we have planned for this chapter is to really, really get in on this idea that we are a part of the community. We're not just here to be a bunch of trolls and to sue everybody and to assert our Satanism. No, like we're a part of the state as well. And us being Satanists or not, like we share in all of these different issues, and as such we should all work towards those common goals to kind of help correct some of the things that we see wrong. So that's really going to be the focus for this year for the Utah chapter, is doing a lot of community stuff. It's not just for Satanists.
Yeah, and I think that's a really positive way to do it. I mean, that's one of the big shifts that we're doing here in our district is to start working on community as opposed to politics. And I'm hoping that we can actually get some other areas in our state to actually focus on that. Because I think that because of the media and because of the lack of factual information, and you guys probably have this same impact too, there's always going to be this huge rift between, for like in our district, it's Republicans versus Democrats. There's always going to be this rift because the media expands on that. In the faith community, there's always going to be a huge rift between the Satanic Temple and the religious. There just is. Because the religious have their own preconceived notions of the idea of Satan and will not step outside of that preconceived notion to try to understand. Especially since the 7 tenets, is it 7 tenets that you guys have? Is it 7 tenets?
Yeah,
the 7 tenets of the Satanic Temple are actually much more logical and beneficial to people than the 10 Commandments. But they refuse to understand that. They refuse to look at that. They refuse to have the open-mindedness to understand that not everything is perfect and not every ideology has all the answers. Which is one of the reasons why we support you guys so much, and we love having you guys on the show and talking about this stuff, is because it brings to the point and it brings to the conversation the idea that the firmly held religious beliefs are not perfect, and they're not always factual, and they're not always accurate. And there are plenty of different views and plenty of different ideas that can do just as much good, if not more so. For example, I think the After School Satan Club is going to be so much more advantageous to young kids than the Good News Club, because of the fact that you guys are teaching critical thinking. You're teaching how to think on your own, how to have an open mind and an opinion of your own without bias, whereas the Good News Club is specifically targeting specific religious ideology, specific you're going to go to hell because you're a sinner type attitude. And I think that is an evolution that our country is going to be going through in the next 10 years, where the Satanic Temple is going to play a huge role in focusing that to a more logical mindset. And I see that as a big plus in our country and in the world. Lord knows we could use a little bit more logic, right? Yeah. Just a little?
Yeah, we all could.
Just a bit.
Funny how that works. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the, we met Stu and Michelle. It was just over a year ago, almost a year ago, when they wanted to do the invocation, and they came to, and they actually stopped by where we work, and they took pictures with us, and we had time to talk and stuff like that. And it's funny because realistically, you would not, if you just saw them on the street, just dressed like normal and just being themselves, as being some sort of evil satanic cult, because you guys, nobody is really. I mean, they have normal jobs, they have normal lives, You know, I mean, Stu's a lawyer, and Michelle's a model, and it's just the stigma of assuming that a person follows a certain mindset just because of. It just boggles my mind. And it's nice to see that people are starting to move away from that. Especially the dog, who's pushing me off my chair.
Yeah, well, it's, we do have a lot of people who are purely in it just to tell us we're wrong and not willing to hear anything we have to say on the matter. But then again, we do have a lot of people who are. So, I have experienced a lot of people who are clearly reactionary to me being a Satanist, but they're also willing to kind of hear me out. And you can hear somebody out without agreeing with them or thinking it's necessarily great, but just the idea of listening and changing your assumptions based on what they're telling you is actually the case. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to think it's right, but it's better to understand where a person's coming from than to just assume and be angry about that.
Right. Oh, a lot of truth to that. So anyway, we're coming up at the end of the show here. We just got a few minutes left. We really appreciate you being on the show tonight. We just love when you guys come on the show because it's so much fun. In one of these days, we really need to actually come up with a scientific type of theory on why is it that every time we see you in a photo, we want to sin. Because that's, one of those things that we think about constantly. But no, we love having you on the show.
Well,
we hope that after you have your actual first couple of after-school Satan clubs, you'll come back on the show and actually tell us how it went, talk about the pluses, the minuses, and stuff like that. Because realistically, our young people need to have the tools necessary to be able to compete. And we can't do that unless we give them the ability to have free thought and, using their brains for something other than a hat rack.
Yeah.
So we commend the effort that you're making, because without people like you, without the Satanic Temple in Arizona, Utah, Seattle, without Lucian doing the work that he does, this would all just get swept under the rug. And at this point in time, in the new millennium that we seem to have not reached yet for some reason in the United States, we need that. We need that discourse. So we really appreciate you being on the show.
Well, I appreciate you asking me, and thank you for everything. I sure enjoyed my time.
Yeah, we did too. And Doug, I know you're someplace back over there somewhere, hiding and not talking very much.
No, I've just been listening.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that Doug was on the show when we had Lucian on the show. And so that was kind of, I think, Doug's first real interaction and influence of the Satanic Temple and what it meant. And it was a really good show. I mean, we've got that in our archive somewhere.
Oh, I believe it.
So, we just enjoyed having him on the show. He was very informative, very detail oriented, and it's really a good thing. Hopefully, we can get more of this out there in the future. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When we, I'll let you guys definitely know how the next few go, and we'll just go from there. But yeah, thanks for asking me to come on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And the next time if you ever get into Arizona, let us know so we can come meet you and see if the real you actually makes us want to sin as just as much as the photos. And we can have a beer and sit down and actually just
definitely will. I can promise you that.
Oh, okay. Well, that just escalated me really well. But anyway, okay. So thanks for joining in tonight. Thanks, Doug, for being on the show tonight.
Thank you.
We're going to be off next week because next week is our 21st wedding anniversary.
Woo.
And we're going to be
congratulations
in the RV with the dogs, fornicating and sinning in the mountains of Prescott. We're not going to be streaking because it's going to be butt-ass cold. But we're still going to be fornicating and doing all that other fun stuff. So, thanks for listening in. Our next show will be around February 10th. We don't know who's going to be on the show yet, but we'll figure it out, I hope, before then. Thank you, Chalice, for being here. Thank you, Doug, for being here. And everybody have a very safe and happy weekend. And if you're going to do something that makes things better for everybody. So we'll close with that, and have a good weekend, folks.
Night, everybody.
You have been listening to Progressive Voices of Arizona, hosted by Scott and Kara Pryor. We hope that you will join us again next week as we try to bring some interesting and lively conversation to the airwaves. It is important that people start communicating, start talking, and start treating each other as individuals with dignity. Our show begins each week at 6 p.m. Arizona time. So come on out, join us, be a part of the conversation, and let's make America change to benefit us all.